This is your review of the product and the quotient property. We are going to do these problems together. We're going to start with a review of the product of powers property. Product, multiplication. We are going to be multiplying our exponents. And when we multiply exponents, that means we add them. Let's start with number 16. 8e to the 9th times 7e to the 10th. Number 16, 8e to the 9th times 7e to the 10th. The first step to get us organized is to separate all the factors with a multiplication sign. 8 times e to the 9th times 7 times e to the 10th power. You have two coefficients. Your coefficients are 8 and 7. And now you also have two variables with exponents. So go ahead and organize this problem so that the coefficients are next to each other and the variables with their exponents are next to each other. If you reorganized this problem correctly, you should have 8 times 7 times e to the 9th times e to the 10th. The next step will be to multiply your coefficients together, and then you're going to do the product of powers property with your exponents. So go ahead and do that and come back and check your answer. Okay, after you've done that step, 8 times 7, 56, and then we have e to the 9th times e to the 10th, which will be e to the 9 plus 10. Now you're going to bring down your 56, and then you're going to add your exponents together to get your final answer. So go ahead and do that step. Good job. Your final answer is 56e to the 19th power. Now remember, this needs to be in your OneNote so I can grade it. Now let's move on to number 17. 9w to the 3rd times 2w to the 4th times w. Now the first thing we see is that one of our factors does not have a coefficient in front of it. But that's not true. It does not have a visible coefficient in front of it. We know that every variable has a coefficient. If it's invisible, that means it is a 1. So we have 9w to the 3rd times 2w to the 4th times 1w to the 2nd. Now you are going to go ahead and separate all of your factors with a multiplication sign. So please do that. Great. It should look like this in your OneNote. Now identify your coefficients. Identify your coefficients and highlight them. There we go. Your coefficients are highlighted in blue. 9, 2, and 1 are your coefficients. Now go back with a different color and highlight your variables with exponents. Perfect. Now you can easily, or more easily, put everything in the correct order. You want to move your coefficients to the front and then put your variables and their exponents second. So please do that. Put this expression in the correct order. And it should look like this. So now you can go ahead and multiply your coefficients together, and then you are going to use the product of powers property on your variables. Remember, that means adding the exponents together. So go ahead and start doing that step. Nice. Your OneNote should now look like this. 9 times 2 times 1 equals 18, so we brought down our 18, and then we have w to the third plus fourth plus second power. So the last step will be to just bring down that 18, and now you just have to add those exponents together and bring down your w to the correct power. And here we go, your final answer, 18, w to the 9th power, 18w to the 9th power. And there we go, one more time so you can make sure this is in your OneNote so I can grade it. Now you need to show me what you learned. Use the two examples we just did, number 16 and number 17, that should be in your OneNote. And now you are going to do number 14. Please show your work in your OneNote. I will be checking. Let's move on to the quotient of powers property now. The quotient of powers. Quotient means that we have divided. And we learned that when we divide our exponents, we're going to subtract them. So let's look at number 20. 9y to the 18th power over 15y to the second power. As always, your first step is to separate all of your factors. 9 times y to the 18th power over 15 times y to the second power. Now the first thing we want to do is take care of this little fraction right here. We have 9 over 15. They can both be simplified. Both of those numbers can be simplified by the same value. So please go ahead and simplify 9 over 15. That is correct. You are able to divide both 9 and 15 by 3. So when we do that, we get 3 over 5. Now you're just going to bring back that y to the 18th, and in the denominator, y to the second. Now everything is going to stay the same. The only thing that has to move right now is y to the second power. We're going to subtract our exponents. So we have 3 times y to the 18th power minus second power. We took those two y's in the denominator and we are subtracting them from the 18 y's in the numerator. And now this is all going to be over 5. 5's alone now. So go ahead and now you can simplify. 18 minus 2 is 16. So now we are left with our final answer of 3y to the 16th power over 5. Make sure this is written down in your OneNote so I can grade it. Here's our next example, number 22. 15z to the 11th over 18z to the 7th. Separate your factors. 15 times z to the 11 over 18 times z to the 7th. Just like in the other problem, your first step is to simplify this fraction. What goes into 15 and 18? Go ahead and simplify this fraction. Would you look at that? This fraction can also be simplified by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 18 divided by 3 is definitely 6. So the fraction portion of this, the coefficient, is 5 over 6. Now you're going to put your variables with their exponents. You're going to put them back. So we have 5 times z to the 11th power over 6 times z to the 7th power. Now use the quotient of powers property. Set up the quotient of powers property. Do that now. If your OneNote looks like this, you are correct. When we are doing the quotient of powers property, we are subtracting those exponents. So we are canceling out 7 z's from the denominator with 7 of the z's from the numerator. So if we do 11 minus 7, how many are we left with? Please rewrite your final answer. And here we go. 11 minus 7 is 4. So your final answer is 5z to the 4th power over 6. Make sure this is in your OneNote. Now, using the 2 examples above, you are going to show me what you know by doing number 21. Please complete number 21 in your OneNote so I can check for your work. Your last example is number 24. This is a combination of the product of powers property and the quotient of powers property. So we are going to start by separating our problem. Here we go. So we have our coefficient 6 times h to the 11th power times another coefficient, negative 7, times h to the 6th power. And this is all over negative 28 times h to the 3rd. So our coefficients are highlighted in green, and our variables with exponents are going to be highlighted in blue. In the numerator, please put your coefficients and your variables with exponents in the correct order. You are not going to move the denominator at all. Here we go. Now we have 6 times negative 7 times h to the 11th times h to the 6th. Let's focus on the numerator first. Can we simplify this? Yes. We can multiply our coefficients together, and we can use the product of powers property on our exponents. So let's do that. Multiply and then use the product of powers property. 6 times negative 7 is negative 42. And then h to the 11th times h to the 6th is h to the 11 plus 6. So we're going to rewrite that so it's now part of the fraction. Negative 42 times h to the 11 plus 6. What's 11 plus 6? That is 17. All over negative 28 times h to the 3rd. Now you can simplify negative 42 over negative 28. What goes into negative 42 and negative 28? You guessed it. Negative 14 goes into negative 42 and negative 28, giving you a positive 3 over 2. Now you can do the quotient of powers property by subtracting 17 and 3. So we have 3 times h to the 17 minus 3 over 2. Simplify. There you go, your final answer, 3h to the 14th over 2. Please make sure this is in your OneNote so I can grade it. It should look something like this. Now, using what we just reviewed, I would like you to do number 23.